I got to ask Corbin if he's ready. Hi, everybody. Okay, we are live, and I've got a special guest today, Marshall Lee. Marsh Makes Comics. Marsh has joined us, and we're going to work on some 3 prompt pages today. Very exciting stuff. So thanks, Marsh, for coming and joining in, man.
Yes. Hello. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to just do a couple of quick things at the beginning. I'm having an incredibly challenging time, as is the usual, of opening up some mail. Some mail that was addressed to me, to the house. Let's okay. Oh, Jim's saying hello. Hey, Jim. Oh, before I forget, if you have a one-page story idea, this is weighing your burdened mind down. Tell us here. Welcome aboard, Jim. He's excited for this one. Oh, yeah. I love it. Okay. And of course, Marsh says so too. Okay, so this was addressed to me, but it says, "Attention, Corbin." So, Corbin, you want to open this? Can you come open it? Come on. Let's go. Right here. Here he comes. All right, so this Corbin is, yeah, I know, right? So this was for you. There you go. You see it? This was sent to Corbin in the mail today. Mine. So this is the picture that Dee Dee did of Corbin on her stream, and there are already plans in the house for this thing. So this is Corbin's mail, and he's quite pleased with it. He's what are you doing? Yeah. So Corbin's mail.
You should show that on full screen.
What's that?
So good. I said you should show that on full screen. It's so good.
The piece by Dee Dee? It's incredible. It really is incredible. Can I? How do I switch this stuff around?
Yeah, you can go back and forth. Yep,
oh, there we go. So there's
nice.
The piece by Dee Dee. It's fantastic. It just says it's by Isaac Bidwell and colored by Dee Dee Willingham. D.L. Willingham.
I love the chalkboard effect in the background.
I like that too. I think that's a really, really cool touch, and I'm that's kicking. So thank you very much, Corbin says to Dee, and yeah, and I do as well. That's super awesome. And Roy's gonna love that when she gets home. But as soon as that came in the mail, I had it. Buddy, you can go and look at your picture because. He literally is smelling it. It's really funny. So I got a couple of books I want to show really quick, and then we're going to get crack-a-lankin' onto the thing. Hiya, Janet. How you doing? Welcome aboard. How you doing, Candy? Welcome aboard as well. So Marsh is going to have this linked onto his Facebook as well. So we're going to get lots of cool cats and kittens in here. I'm just going to do this really quick. Marsh is going to be setting that up on his thing, and I'll get my mug out of the way here. So this is today's page. The suggestion came from Ann Lar yesterday. It was, what's that at the top? It's some kind of new logo. Where did that come from?
Oh, yeah.
What? Look at that. I think Jim might like that. I think so. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So this is the page from yesterday. What were you going to say, Mark? Sorry.
I love it. I love the Run DMC reference.
Jim Luann's idea. You literally gave it to me 10 minutes ago. And I just did it in the blink of an eye. That is not a complicated logo. So, yeah, there we go. I'll pop it up one more time. Run C Man. Now I need to get better at beatboxing. Okay. Jim loves it. There we go. Corbin is the man. Hiya, Janet. Welcome aboard. Hiya, Dee Dee. We just showed the piece that Corbin got. Loves it. He was right in the camera while it was being opened. It was fantastic. One more time, I'll say thank you. Okay, I'm just moving this for a second. I'll pop it in the screen. Give me a sec. There we are. There it is there. Love that piece. So nice. We got a frame for it. It's going to go up in the house. Right where Smarty Cat likes to sleep in Mom's office. So, yeah, he's all about that. Thank you very much for that. We really love it. So okay, so there's anyways yesterday's page, and so that's the third of the Frankenstein pieces. So good fun. Bunsy man, yeah. Okay, so I promised to show a couple books. I'm going to do these really quick, and then we're going to get crack-a-lackin'. So because we got Marsh here, and we got to get doing some drawing. Kink is a book that is about a guy in Toronto. This is a mixed media piece, and I just want to show it really quick, just to talk about some of the capabilities that we have in working with photo collage and mixed media in a comic book sequential format. Okay, and Kink is a prime fine example of that.
Right.
It's just kicking, man. Lots and lots of photo work, lots and lots of collage, and incorporating some other visual elements. Very, very punk rock. I thought you might like this one, Marsh. That's why I'm pulling it out. So
I love it.
like just something else. And it's about this guy, Kink, who was stealing thousands of bikes in Toronto.
Wow.
And they found them all squirreled away in one building. The whole
He was
backyard.
just stealing them to keep them?
Just stealing them and throwing them in a building. It's a mental health thing, but he just had so many of these things.
Wow.
There's the shot, man. 1,300 bicycles and thousands of wheels stored in a disused school owned by the 14th Division of Toronto.
My goodness.
There you are. There's our first one. Sorry, Corbin. Is that
you've read that book, I'm assuming, or?
Oh, I read all my books, man. So,
okay, so how is it?
It's kicking.
Awesome.
It is kicking. It's a great book. This is The Art of Jock. This is another guy who does manipulative collage into his work.
Oh,
now
wow.
we got P-Pix joining us. There's the cat plot world domination in the book. The cat plot world domination in the house, P.
It's part of every book, I think.
Oh, this is awesome. Candy says, "Hi, Dee, watching your video from yesterday, and your pages are amazing." That is true.
This is
true.
That is
true. She does some fantastic work. So Jock is one of these graphic artists, comic book artists.
Oh, yeah.
He's the first. He did a Batman image. Let me see if I can find it. That adorns. It has made millions because it adorns shoes. That's it. This is on Adidas. This is on T-shirts. This is on. It's an image made out of bats, like the Joker's entire face. Bats.
Wow.
And then it's just more and more of his work. That's from the book Skelped about all the stuff on an Indian reservation. But the cool thing about a book like this is that he does these fantastic vellum overlays on the design of his pages.
Those are always fun.
That's kicking. So that's the second book I wanted to show people. Check out Jock. The ISBN for that is 978-1-60887-805-5. And then this was for Miriam from yesterday. And then one more from Marsh. Yehuda Devere and Maya Devere are an Israeli couple, and they have been doing comics together. She's a portraitist, and Yehuda is a cartoonist. And so they have been doing pieces about their life and time together for years.
Yeah, I've seen these all over the internet. My girlfriend's always showing me these. She loves them too.
These are great. So this is the first collection of all those cartoons, and it goes right through the delivery of their child and the pregnancy, the whole deal. It's just, what are those? Yeah. Like ISBN for that's 978-0-593-23143-2. I got a chance to meet Yehuda. Maya was doing something, but they're really cool people. And then this last one is from Marsh. And we're jumping right into it. Deanie says, if I were in charge, he'd be stripped down to his underoos and he'd go door to door to apologizing for being a jerk. Is that me?
Maybe the cat. I don't know.
Maybe it's probably me. I'm pulping, not being jerky. Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with Jamie Hewlett. I don't know if you're familiar with Tank Girl. I don't know if you're familiar with the Gorillas, but here's the fusion. So Hewlett and Martin did the Tank Girl strip for years, It got eventually turned into a film, but this is a lot of their early material. And this is punk rock comics.
Yeah.
This is punk rock
So
through and through. And there's some fantastic. Oh, the creep who's stealing bikes and hoarding them. Oh yeah, it was a massive problem in Toronto. The fact that somebody did a graphic novel of that is just fantastic to me.
Yeah.
You know, he had problems. He definitely had problems. But so here's some storyboarding. Here's the Hewlett and Martin themselves doing photos for the back of the magazine. You know, some different mixed media stuff, portraits of the characters, some of the weird adverts they do for the Deadline magazine. Just great stuff. And these are guys that would try anything, throw whatever would be at the wall and see what stuck. So it's a big thing to me. Booga.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a
and
fantastic.
he tried a lot of different he still does try a lot of different approaches, different mediums, and everything. Like really amazing stuff
across the board, right?
Uh-huh.
So ISBN 978-1845 769420. I got
in 5 minutes, Jim Luhan's going to drop the bomb on us.
Oh yeah, he's got a good bomb to drop. He's started right there before something about revolutionary groups. Okay, a good question day coming up in 5. All right, so I'm going to switch cameras up here. Let's get this shared screen going on. I don't think you need to see my mug anymore. I think you're quite used to it, folks. But another thing I want to show is I got my new business cards in. What? And that's in time for the show. And we set this up. And I've already got, now when I get one-page suggestions, I'm writing them down on these. Name, email, story idea. And then that way I'm going to keep them all in one spot. But I've already had some coming in since we printed these last night. Oh, one more time I'm going to switch the camera. Behind me is my big old banner.
Nice.
So that's my, I don't know, that's 6 feet tall. That's 6 feet tall, my banner. I think it's 6 feet. Yeah, it's about, 6 feet. And maybe more. But yeah, that's my banner for the show. We got everything all matched up now. That's it. That's the whole show.
6 inches shorter than you.
What's that?
6 inches shorter than you, right?
Yeah, it's kind of trash. Yeah, but it's cool because it's so high, right? Like it gives you that cool, it fills a space, like the promo. And the last thing, I'm gonna just flash these by really quick. We got in prints from the new book. So yeah, we got some pages that are coming together. So
wow.
Yeah.
A lot to share today.
Man, all of it came in. So, okay. So Jim's got a question of the day coming up. Marsh, you have got some, I want to introduce everybody to Marsh. Marsh has been kicking it for some time now online. You do a number of videos about the process of making, specifically the process of making COMICS. And, how you feeling? You feeling like you still got new things to discover, new things to explore?
Oh man, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of the stuff I want to explore, to be honest.
That's it. I love it. Yeah, man, that's good. That's good. So in your journey, how much would you say that you yourself and your work has radically changed since the start of all this?
In my journey, I would say drastically. I mean, I was just thinking about some old art that I've made in the past, and like I remember there was one point early on when I was had made my first comic or two, my first mini comic, and I remember I was specifically trying to create a specific style to draw in, so everybody would know me and like buy my art. And it was kind of such a silly thing because first of all, that's like a weird, like that's not the way you tend to find your style. And second of all, whether you're trying to do that or not, people will recognize you by your art because you just can't help but have a unique line, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if I found a style, man. So under like that, the natural voice comes through, but I don't know if I probably, maybe, I don't know, but like you're saying, it's true that organic growth. And I think that definitively at this point now, people can look at your stuff and say, Marsh, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I know, I already know they do. And like when I see some art pass by my eyes and it's one of your pieces, I know automatically, oh, that's Christopher's stuff. And people
Oh,
say the same thing about mine. So that's the drastic change is I was trying to be intentional about something that doesn't actually come about super intentionally. There's a little intentionality to it, but not a lot.
cool, man. And do you think subject matter you've changed a lot?
Yeah, I mean, I think originally I always wanted to make superhero type of comics and make my own characters and stuff. And now I don't care. I can do superhero or not. I'm happy to play around with any kind of genre. And I'm way more focused and interested, so much less on plot and so much more interested in character. I don't know if I
Nice.
can pull it across, pull it off yet, but that's what I'm interested in creating now.
And that's that thing where we can do our best, but it still falls on how the viewer connects, right?
For sure.
Yeah, man. Hey, so okay, what do you got going on here?
So, we
Are you sure?
decided.
I'm so glad I pointed the right way, by the way.
Yeah, it's difficult with the screens. So, you and I had chatted after my live stream on Tuesday about what we're gonna do really quickly for this video, and we thought of doing like prompts or whatever, since that's what you do anyways. We thought about doing prompts for comics, and so yesterday we both asked Dee Dee, can we have some prompts, because we're going to be doing a video with these prompts tomorrow. So I got 3 prompts: bricks, seal, and chuckle. And right before the show, I decided to get the jelly plate out and let's see if we can make some backgrounds for these prompts. And I don't know what's going to come of it, or which one I'm going to use, but I think these can be the starts to some comics. So
Right on.
yeah, that's what this is.
Nice. So what are your 3 again?
Bricks, seal, and chuckle.
Nice. Those prompts like chuckle or laughter or curious. Those are the fun ones. I think those ones are a little intense for some, but because how do you express, like, how do you visually draw chuckle, right? It's
Yep.
just you got to figure out how to vibe it in, but that's the intense one. Hi, hi Miriam, how you doing? I'm trying to say hi to everybody as they're coming in, and if I'm missing anybody, I'm sorry for that. Miriam, I showed a book a few minutes ago by a couple that does a comic. You have to scroll back and check that out. And I showed I'm going to show this 15 times, the De Beer book by an Israeli couple. And then I'm going to show this as many times as I can think to. You have no idea the looks I'm getting from this cat every time I move this. Truly believes it's his.
Don't touch my art.
You'll get your paws off it. So you literally just did these. You just made those.
Yeah. I'm sitting here like going through and I'm looking like, which one do I want to try doing, and how do I even approach this? Like, I feel like today, because using 3 prompts and making a comic on live like this is your domain, man. Like me, I've never done it quite like this, and I'm like, I think I need some coaching.
Well, look at it. So here's how I go at it, right? Like if I start laying down an image, first and foremost, right? Then I've got my start. I got my thing going, and it'll flow as we go, right? But for the most part, that you can do it a couple of ways. You've got that scrap of paper beside you. I mean, you can plot out your idea with your 3 words, and then just start fleshing it out in the finished next, like on the page itself, right? Or you can just start cooking. right? Like it's sort of there's no right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the way I do it is, unconventional to some, and others would go, yeah, but it's whatever works for you.
Okay.
I think is the basic beat. So if you've got a way you're approaching it that you're vibing on it, then follow that, follow your muse, man. Do it the way you do it.
Yeah.
And as I usually do, like, we're going to go for a couple, but I'm not going to have it finished today either. Right? Like, I'll have it posted for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marsh, I'm sure you're going to post yours whenever you can get it rolled out.
Well, that's the thing is, because that's what you do, I'm going to do my darndest to try to have this done by tomorrow as well. So.
All right. Right on, man. So, so we can check out Marsh's Instagram and tomorrow as well. Facebook.
Yes.
Nice. That's nice. I'll send people that way too.
Thanks.
Awesome. Okay. So, my three are Shelf, Moon, and Woodpecker.
All right.
I like that.
I wish I got Moon. I love that word.
So my grandmother on my father's side was named Moon. Her last name was Moon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Crazy, eh?
So do you already have an idea for what you want to do, or no?
No. I thought I would start by drawing the moon.
There you go.
And we'll just go from there. But there's not a single clue. All I knew that I wanted to do today is draw reverse. I'm going to draw in white on a dark surface. And that's the only place of beginning that I have today. That, and I needed to show some mail and show some books. So, that's about it for me. But we've got a situation that has developed here, folks, and that is question of the day. As my cat literally walks across my desk, and now I can't see the screen. Question of the day: they are making a movie about your life. Which one music artist or band does the soundtrack? Limited to one, and why?
Oh, wow.
That's a solid. That's a solid. I'll leave that up for everybody for a second while we get crack-a-lacking.
So it's like sort of like Prince and Batman, but except for that's not a story of his life, but exactly. But
that's a great soundtrack, though.
Mm-hmm.
I got everything in such a way as to block myself in my own space. I got a cat climbing across my desk. The banner up behind me has blocked half of my supplies. Janet,
I'm kind of the same way.
This is almost like a ruler, Janet.
I know. I need a. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking for a ruler too. I'm like, where did I put it?
Round. Okay, that's a good question of the day. Miriam starts with, I will want Gershwin to do the soundtrack, and that is a solid. I like that a lot. One band. That's the problem, Jim. One band. Rod Stewart, Forever Young, because I've never matured. So the only song in your entire soundtrack, Janet, is Forever Young. Over and over again.
Well, maybe there's too many songs in a soundtrack movie anyways. You only need one good moment, really.
Okay, Janet is already busting you up. You have to look for a ruler?
I can't find it, so I'm using a book instead.
I know. She's going to bust you up on that, too.
I know.
Candy loves that idea, Janet. Indeed, he gets a crack out of it. Oh, there we go. Janet says, or don't worry, be happy. Okay, Kat, you cannot sit on me while I'm doing this. He's getting a little too familiar, this guy.
I have this ruler, and I have the other ruler somewhere near, but my studio is a mess right now.
That happens. It happens to the best of us. And Corbin. Don't Worry, Be Happy is a fun one. So not just a song, think of a band, the whole soundtrack, number of their songs to be played throughout it, I think is where Jim's going with that. One music artist or band does the soundtrack. So you can have more than one of their songs. So you can have Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart in there as well, Janet. You can have Maggie May.
I think I know mine. I was having a hard time thinking of what it would be, but now I think I figured it out.
There we go. Janet says, Marsh is lacking rulers. I feel compelled to fix his life.
I would really appreciate that, Janet, if you could come over and fix my life, because it's difficult sometimes.
Look at that. So Candy has Maybe Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper.
There you go.
Is it just that? Like, it's a soundtrack, so you can do more of Cindy's songs than just one.
See, yeah, everybody's thinking of one song, which it's fun. It's kind of funny to think of that, especially Forever Young for Janet Young, right? That's her last name. Yeah, so that makes sense. But like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, who has the range, to be able to do a soundtrack for a whole life story,
Well, you're leaning into songs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like Johnny Greenwood from the band Radiohead.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a number of soundtracks, right?
Mm-hmm.
While he writes all the music for Radiohead, he's specifically writing tunes for motion pictures. And then if you ever saw Dead Man by Jim Jarmusch, well, that's Neil Young doing that entire that little guitar blending soundtrack. That's Neil Young.
Okay.
And there's no vocals in either of those. Like, it's just them doing these cool soundscapes. And Mission Impossible, the first one, that's the drummer and bass player from U2.
Okay.
Right? So
I guess I don't know my soundtrack history at all, to be honest.
The bass player for Hall & Oates.
Yeah.
It did so many soundtracks.
Really?
Everything from Cold Ridge Mountain with, what's his name? Jude Law and Nicole Kidman. And then he went on and did like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other soundtracks by him. But he used to do a whole bunch of them. Mark Mothersbaugh, the lead singer keyboardist from Devo, is possibly the biggest soundtrack guy in motion pictures in the last so many years.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so think of the soundtrack this weekend. Whoever you take one original music song for your life story, what's it going to be for this next weekend? Or think of it this way, not this weekend. In this case, jazz goes with everything. Too bad he died in 1937. No soundtrack for me. I actually have an answer set up, but it really fits in with what Miriam just said. Hey, Yvonne, welcome aboard. So I would go with Dizzy Gillespie.
Wow. Okay.
And the reason I would go with Dizzy Gillespie is that he has this one album that just, it vibes. You know what I mean? And it does it in such a way as it has these little different feelings. That it's called Dizzy on the French Riviera.
Uh-huh.
Let me see. I'm going to pull it up. There's what it looks like. Hopefully that's going to show up in the camera. Here it comes. Dizzy Gillespie on the French Riviera. And this soundtrack, that's it. That's it. That's the one. It's got so much cool stuff and so many different directions in it that I think that would work for me. So I can have my tense emotional moment where I'm walking along the pier, even though there's no waterfronts or piers in London, and crying and reflecting on all the terrible things that happened. Real emotional moment for the film, and I can have a song planned for that, or whatever. It's got it all.
Nice.
Because everything else, the challenge of picking a lot of songs that got a lot of vocals is that they're really not going to let, like you can blend and intermix those songs on huge levels if it's just the music. But as soon as you got vocals, you got to just cut pieces of them. So Miriam says, anyway, unless I buy all the tickets, who wants a film about my life? Come on.
Well, I think that's cool. I want to look. I'm going to be looking up that album and checking it out because I haven't heard it. So
yeah, there's a live performance that he did in England in the I can't remember if it's the 50s or 60s right now, but at one point his co-writer and fellow band member in his group, who switches from the horn to the flute, and at one point it's his flute. The song features him on flute in a big way. It's a big flute solo in it, and Dizzy Gillespie says, and up next we have Papa Jones, and you're going to flout all over the place. And I've never stopped laughing about that. Every time I listen to the whole album, even though that's not on the album, I think of that every single time.
Nice. Yeah, it's funny how we have like these kind of memories and associations with different songs and music, albums.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. And there's like things that you are really particular to you at a time and place. Like, I don't know. I was, it's hard. You're hard pressed to associate times of your life without thinking of some of the music that was around it, because it becomes indicative, it becomes lockstepped in with those memories, right? It's a good question.
Do you feel that way, like when you're, like, I don't know, maybe it's not always applicable, but like, I think for writing, it's super applicable. Like, I remember, like, as I was in my previous job, especially when I was a driver, a lot of times I would be, kind of just thinking up stories, comic book stories in my head, and once in a while I'd write down, the ideas and stuff like that, and all that kind of thing, and I can distinctly remember, and I also same thing with writing lyrics for music. Like I can distinctly remember sometimes where I was when I wrote that particular thing very often. Do you get stuff like that?
I don't know that I can remember where I was when I did a particular thing, but I'm kind of always doing something. So it's kind of hard to free my head up to think about where I was chronologically at the time. But I'm not very good for remembering that stuff anyways, like dates and names, and I'm lousy for that. So I know for a fact. So here's one of the things I'm dreading about the convention this weekend. I'm really bad at names, and you never mean anything by that. You just are, right? When you are, you are. And I know I'm going to have someone come up to me and go, hey, man, how you been? I haven't seen you in a while. What's new? And I'm like, when was the last time I saw you? And what is your name again? And it's got nothing to do with being disingenuous towards a person. It's got everything to do with the fact that I've never been good at it, but the older I get, I gotta write stuff down. And I don't want to do this. Hey, good to see you, buddy. How's it going, guy? That's the worst. It says my life story would definitely be a comedy. My three boys, two are special needs, are hilarious, and I'm super goofy. See, that's excellent. You gotta know the tone of your film, right? There was a game that we used to consider when I was younger, and that is who's going to play you in the story of your life. And you get to pick, and then your peers around you get to pick who would be you in the story of your life, right? And I would get things like, you you'd be played by Gary Busey. Now, this is years ago before Gary Busey, went a little different there, but because now he's kind of a character, but it still was like Gary Busey. Or I get Nick Nolte.
Why did both of them seem like the same?
Well, they're both big blonde guys.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. That's and I got a scratchy voice, right, in person, so it's like I think that kind of runs through as well. So that, or maybe I call everybody convict. Listen, convict. I don't know. It's just an interesting association. Like, you might want to think, could play you in a movie, and you try to think the coolest actor you can, and people are like, no.
Yeah, mine's definitely Tom Cruise. Come on. No.
Yeah, Tom Cruise for me there, buddy. He is 5'8" inches tall. That's not working for me. Yeah, how about I'm played by Daniel Day-Lewis? No. Damn. Nick Nolte or Gary Busey. That's all you get. I tried to pick for mine. I tried to pick Cary Grant. Who'd play you in the story of your life? And I said, Cary Grant. And my friend said, what are you talking about? Cary Grant is dead. They don't have to be alive. How are they going to play me as a young man when they're, 45 years old or whatever? What are you talking about, right?
Well, I mean, the potential of somebody making a movie about my life or most of our lives is probably pretty slim. So we can imagine dead people as well.
Okay. I just like the idea of, all right, everybody, today we're gonna do some comic drawing. I just want that. That's all I want. All right, Larry, let's go to the store and get some milk. That'd be great. Okay, Jim says, I'm going to pick Beck for my story. For my life story. I think you can give a good variety of humorous, eclectic, and sad. Yeah, that's a pretty good choice, man.
I think it's spot on for Jim. And like, also, Beck is, again, another one of those people who has so much range that he can't. I think he would be able to make a song for different moods and different situations that might happen in your lifetime.
I'm not dismissing Beck. I think Beck's great, but I think what's really great about Beck's music and overall is that band. That band is amazing. His band that he plays with, his regular players, they are phenomenal.
I'm not even familiar. To me, as far as I knew, he just went into his room with his computer and made his music by himself. So
the guys that he plays in tours with, right? They step him up. Watch him on Saturday Night Live, or watch him in like a live show and watch how his band acts.
Yeah, I'd love to see him live. That would be cool. Now that you say that too.
He has got the craziest band ever. Like, they are just clearly mega talented, but also completely just crazy having fun.
Yeah. Well, they would have to have a lot of range to do a set of his songs, because his songs are all over the place.
Yeah. So how are you doing so far? How's things going there?
Well, I put pencil lines down, dividing the little pages and stuff, because I'm going to do it like one of these little foldy mini zines. And I'm doing word association until I come up with something that I can start with to draw. I'm honing in on what I'm going to start drawing.
Do some Cockney rhyming slang on it.
What's that?
Do some Cockney rhyming slang. Instead of apples and pears, you drew up the stairs.
Yeah, I could do that too. That's
Penelope
good.
Cruz would play me, says Jim. Not Tom Cruise. Penelope Cruz.
Okay.
Tom's just too scrawny. Nothing to cuddle with. There you go.
Well, I think the person who I would pick if I had a chance to choose would be Paul McCartney.
Paul
And
McCartney to play you?
no, to do the
Oh, to
soundtrack.
do your soundtrack.
I
I
don't
know.
know if Paul McCartney acts or not. I don't remember, but I know that again, I pick him because of the range. My second choice would be Jack White because he's got some great range, but I feel like Paul McCartney's more my vibe. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like he could do some real good soundtrack work.
Oh yeah, I think so. Well, he did "Live and Let Die" for
I know that
for
song
Guns.
alone is a soundtrack.
Yeah, that is a fantastic piece. I mean, even Guns N' Roses couldn't screw it up with a cover, right? Like you would think a band like Guns N' Roses taking that on would malign it from its core so much, but no, they realized the power of that song on its own and just did their best to do right by it. Like some metal bands would really take a poop on it, so
Right.
and they did a great job with it. I always thought.
hmm
I know a lot of people hate Axl Rose, but my wife can't stand him.
I've never been a huge hair band or that era of rock and roll fan, except for like Metallica, but I feel like they're different. You
Yeah.
know, but yeah, I mean, Guns N' Roses do have some good songs, that's for sure. So,
See, the Metallica I um, like was the 598 Garage Days.
hmm
And before that, like I just like when they were really, really grungy,
hmm
like really, really just gritty. And the first two bass players, and yeah, I couldn't tell you a Metallica song for the last 20 years.
yeah, I don't know much either. To me, I was more introduced to them through Injustice for All, and I know that's later than what you're talking about, but
That's why it fell off.
I was blown away by that album. Honestly, you said that's where they fall off. That's where I liked it.
It's a good album. It's just that's where they fell off for me. I mean,
hmm Yeah, and I'm sure if I went back into their catalog before that, and I think I even have, I've enjoyed it. But to me, I thought the musicality of at the time, I wasn't anywhere near a metalhead. That's like one of my first introductions to some kind of metal because I was steeped in hip hop and stuff at that time. So that was more palatable for someone like me at the time. Now I love to listen to check out like some crazy death metal or some punk rock that's just insane. But back then I didn't have a palate for that.
I hear you. I know I got a really weird musical history. I got a really weird history of what I like and don't.
hmm
It just, the first two records I bought when I was a kid were Gordon Lightfoot, Gord's Gold, and Janis Joplin, Pearl. Such a
Okay.
random first two records. Janet says, I would pick the lady who played Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies. That's who that played you in the story of your life.
that
Jim,
sounds like a fun movie.
well, in that case, I think I picked Jed Clampett.
There you go.
I think I picked the dad. That's that. I think that, am I as old as he is yet? No, but I think I'd still cast him to play me. Him or Christopher Plummer. I know he just passed away, but just before that. I just saw Beck at the LA Forum a month ago. Original band, first time reunited in 10 years. Amazing. That'd be a great show.
Oh wow.
Finishing to make I cannot pronounce it. I'm so sorry, Miriam. Milanesis. I'm probably saying it wrong. I apologize. That sounds cool, though. Now Janice had pipes. Janice Joplin, indeed. She could belt it out. Yeah. Did you know that Me and Bobby McGee was written by Chris Christopherson? Because they were dating at the time.
Oh.
Janis Joplin and Chris Christopherson were dating then.
All right.
It's kind of a different one, eh?
Yeah.
He had
Jan-
short hair. He had just got out of the Air Force. Yeah, her dating partners over the years are wildly varied, one from the next.
Well, I feel like anybody who dates Janis Joplin, it's going to be somewhat of a juxtaposition.
Well, she hung out with Rick Danko for a while, from Rick Danko, the bass player from the band, and
Hmm.
like she just had a pretty diverse amount of partners in the brief time that she was with us. She just was looking for someone to spend some time with.
Hmm. I love her. I mean, she is just she is a woman who cried her soul out in songs. That's for sure.
See, if I could pick another singer on that regard, if I could pick somebody else to be the soundtrack of a movie of my life, it would be Billie Holiday.
Okay. Oh wow. Yeah.
Again,
Jeez.
again, this is really old music and not in accordance with the time of my time period of my life, but it's just one of those things where it's music that I enjoy, but at the same time, it's music that there's real communication in these pieces, and there's connection with real moments with them, So I kind of like that idea in a soundtrack.
Hmm.
That or Randy Newman.
There
There's
you
there's
go.
there's your subversion, buddy. Um, that or Randy Newman. Chris is walking to the store. He's going to buy himself some milk. Yeah.
The
Pierre Trudeau
most.
and Barbara Streisand. Nice. No
What
accounting
was?
for taste on which end. Yeah, the current Prime Minister of Canada. Oh, wait, no, it was his dad. Dated Barbara Streisand. I call him Junior. I don't remember what his name is half the time. I just call him Pierre too, our Prime Minister, because his dad was the Prime Minister. Same time that Thatcher was in government in Britain. And you guys had guys like Jimmy Carter in that at the same time. Yeah, I think I'd have Randy Newman do the soundtrack of my life.
All right. I mean, he could kind of do the soundtrack of so many people's lives. He's just got that, I don't know, that thing for like, I mean, not everybody has that vibe though, but still, like, it sounds like soundtrack music.
It does. It'd be that whole. Yeah, I'm being silly, right? I wouldn't do.
Yeah, no, I know.
I'm trying
Just
to
every-
justify Randy Newman for the story of my life, and it just doesn't work.
yeah, but
Oh,
I still
Jim
think it would
singing,
work though.
Jim is singing Barbara Streisand. There we go. If there was a single piano player composer for me, it would be Waits all the way. Do you know who I mean? Tom Waits.
I know the name, but I don't remember where that's from.
Well, Tom Waits has been a recording artist for 40 years, and he's written so many songs. And okay, well, one song alone, "Old 55," has been covered by the Eagles. It's been covered by Sarah McLachlan. It's been covered by, I'm trying to think of who else. Lori and I figured out there were 4 different people one time. But he's one of those writers, one of those composers that so many other people will cover his work.
Mm-hmm.
And in his band, when he's recording new albums, he calls friends in to record with him, and he gets guys to show up at his studio in his barn, like Keith Richards, and like it's hard to explain, but he's got a song called "Chocolate Jesus." His father-in-law is a minister, and
Okay.
and he's trying to help me out to figure out, hey Tom, you're going to invest some money. He's got this voice like that. You're going to invest some money. I got something for you right here. And he pulled out this chocolate confectionery treat. and he put it in my hands, and it says testaments. And isn't that the darndest thing that the T's are crosses? Like he's just so. He writes a song about it called Chocolate Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's a church going guy. Then he writes a song about, I don't go to church on Sunday. I don't get on my knees and pray. Because he's got Jesus in his pocket that he gets at his local confectionery store.
Uh-huh.
But
Awkward.
his songs are fantastic. They really are.
Yeah, I'll have to look up his stuff because you said he's based mostly like piano type stuff.
In the beginning.
Okay, because I'm a
Heath
huge
Ledger.
fan of piano for sure.
Do you know Heath Ledger, the Batman performance he did?
Yeah.
That's based on Tom Waits.
Oh, okay.
His Joker performance is based on Tom Waits.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he was
hey guys, I just bought my pre-sale tickets for Bob Goes to the Store for Milk, Christopher Runsman's one-man play playing at the Toronto Centre for the Arts this November. Miriam says, buy one for me. I'm going to apply for a visa to see that movie. I hope they found the motive better need a piece of cake. Tom Waits, born in Pomona, California. I used to love Karen Carpenter in my early 20s. Her voice was buttery. Yeah, that'd be a good person to have a soundtrack, the Carpenters. She's a great drummer, too. Miriam loved her as well. Yeah, Karen Carpenter would be a good one.
Yeah. Well, last I heard, Jim Lujan was gonna steal your Bob Goes and Gets Milk idea, anyways.
I was hoping for that.
I wanted to put that up on my stream the other day. You had a comment, but I never got to it.
He's gonna steal it. Is he? He's gonna go with that.
Mm-hmm.
As long as that when Bob realizes he's got no milk in his fridge, he does this. Hold on, I'll switch cameras. I want everything to be mimed. When he looks in the fridge and sees no milk, he goes, yeah. If he doesn't have that, it's not worth it. Single tear.
There you go. That's important. It's effective.
You could get a band like Sonic Youth or Ween. Something that's got, really quirky and interesting songs for your whole soundtrack. And that'd be fun too.
Yeah. For sure. Like you said, it's got to fit the vibe of like your life and who you kind of are,
If that's the case, my whole band thing changes. Like the whole thing changes, right? Like, because, you're only looking at ridiculous bands at that point.
Is that what the theme of your life is? Ridiculous?
Oh yeah. Okay. It's going to have to be silly bands at that point. It'll have to be things like, let me think. I'll have to think of something good now.
See, that's the thing. I was thinking of like, at first I'm thinking, okay, well, what music do I like and this and that? And I'm like, well, no, it's not exactly what music do you like? Because like, I might go with like a hip hop group or something, but it's more like who would really, do a good job at kind of depicting your life story, I guess. And I mean, I love Paul McCartney, but it wasn't my first thought.
I hear you. See, that makes the whole thing a lot tougher. Way to go, Jim. Yeah, that makes the whole situation a whole lot tougher. So, oh yeah, I don't know. Rufus Wainwright, Leonard Cohen. Who I'm just going to list off ridiculous ones. Don't you remember? You told me you loved me, baby. I love Los Gatos or Los Rosarinos, the Luthier. There's, I'm not familiar with those. I'm going to have to look at these. Got to write it down. Oops. Look out. Look at my hand. Yeah, I think Tom Waits is a good one for me. That one works. He's got such a massive range. He goes from his early piano bar in New York vibe in the beginning to his full on, adapting a William S. Burroughs play to music. Like he does the range.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm gonna stick with Waits as the soundtrack because there's a nice selection of material. Because I mean, one of his early songs is a ballad. It's a duet with Bette Midler called "Only Suckers Fall in Love with Perfect Strangers."
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great song, but you know, it takes one to know one stranger. And he goes, "You must be reading my mail." It's just so fantastic. Jim says, I put a poster up in the background of the Full Fungus for Bob Goes to the Store for Milk. That's my man. Right on, buddy. I'll send you the artwork, Chris. Excellent. I love it.
Nice.
A women act. Is it still a play? Is it still me doing a play, Jim? Okay, so by the way, I'm drawing Rick Ocasek. I don't know why, but I realize as I'm just randomly drawing this face that it's turning out to look like Rick Ocasek from the Cars.
Nice. Well, I guess eventually it's going to turn into some kind of narrative, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have an idea yet, or are you still just drawing until you figure it out?
I got it now. I figured it out after I drew the moon.
Okay.
And it's this guy's telling you the real story of the moon.
All right. What's the real story of the moon, though?
Well, all the craters and all of the blemishes on the surface of the moon were made by a universal woodpecker.
Uh-huh. Oh, that makes so much sense now. I always wondered.
Oh, right on. Imperial Bull says I would have picked Brian Eno or Alice Cooper.
Okay.
There you go. Dance Me to the End of Love is the best, says Yvonne. Good choice. Great song. He covers everything in that song. My favorite Leonard Cohen song isn't Dance Me to the End of Love. My favorite Leonard Cohen song is Closing Time, because he has this crazy line. Like there's this I could do an entire soundtrack of biblical references that kind of don't make any sense. And Leonard Cohen or kind of have this weird, is that good or bad, kind of a meaning to him. And Cohen has this line in Closing Time. It says, "This place is dead like heaven on a Saturday night." And that line just cracks me up.
That is so weird.
Closing time.
Nice.
Well, Waits has a line, I do the angels get to sleep when the devil leaves his porch light on. That's another one. I just love those kind of references. This place is dead like heaven on a Saturday night cracks me up.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
There's Tom Waits also has, don't you know there ain't no devil, that's just God when he's drunk. that was written at the height of his alcoholism. So,
Okay. Sounds like he's got some pretty provocative lyrics then.
he's there. He's in that space where he's just writing music and he'll figure out the rest of it as he goes.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my narrator. I'm just gonna punch him up now. That's Corbin's hand helping me out. Thank you, Corbin. It's an interesting practice to draw with a cat on top of you. Now I've got the cars stuck in my head.
Nice. It's not always good to have something stuck in your head, but sometimes it is.
I'm going to try to figure out how to incorporate the line that the woodpecker kept it going till the sun went down. He kept it going.
Nice. Well, I kind of stole one of your prompts.
What's that?
I really wanted the moon, so the moon's going to be in there.
Go for it, man. Do it. Get that moon in there already.
I mean, I guess the thing is with this kind of challenge or whatever that you do is like you can kind of work the stuff in anyway. Like you can kind of get some cheap wins with it too.
Oh, sure.
So like
yeah.
you could just have them like say something about, you know, whatever the prompt was or whatever. Like it could just be something really simple instead of like making it themed by those 3 prompts or something.
See, I'll try to have the like one of my things was toucan, vines, and almonds, and that page was all about a toucan sacrificing all of his relationships because he thought everybody was out to steal his gigantic bag of almonds. But you only see the bag of almonds once. It's just the whole time, and it's just before, as he's looking at it, going, "Look at it, isn't it glorious?" And then he realizes, "Oh my God, what have I done? I've lost everyone." And that's how it ends. But like that's sort of, you know, that's almost like drawing the almonds in as an afterthought,
Right.
in order for this the focus on the story. But another one is because I've had things like curious. I try to have the character exhibit curiosity. Like I try to have someone not just expressing it, but saying, "Listen, I'm curious," and I try to give him a quizzical face, you know, quizzical expression. But you're right. Sometimes it's just it's hard to physically represent something in the context of whatever the narrative you've structured.
Yeah. Oh man, and I feel like it's just like I don't know, like again, I think after doing, you know, 200 or however many you've done, because you've done a lot. I think you said the number 200 something, but that's just this year.
That's this year now. I think I'm around the 425 range, something like that.
Yeah, so after doing that many, you probably got a lot of different tricks up your sleeves. For me, I feel like it's so easy for me to just fall into like going right on the nose, you know, with the suggestions and stuff.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, I mean, there's greater benefit to that than being obscure or being referential as opposed to direct. The problem with that is that you've got to hope that your audience has some connection to the way that you work.
Mm-hmm.
And it, you know, so contextually, right on the nose is more beneficial.
Okay.
In the larger picture, it's like I'm at this point. I mean the extra perks and benefits of doing as many as I have is that I've really got a solid comprehension of the underlying structure of what we're approaching. But I'm still trying to push myself and try different things and new things every day, and to break some of the rules in whatever ways I can come up with, because to me, that keeps it fresh, right? I don't want to fall back on, oh, just a 3-panel setup. Here we go. Blah, 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 blah. Happy day, you know. It's more interesting with the Jack Russell. Oh, that's what Ivana says. You draw with a Jack Russell on your lap? That's tough. My youngest loves Blues, Clues, and SpongeBob, so all the dumb songs get stuck in my head from that. There's a great, Candy, you might like this. There's a great Brian Regan comedy bit about, you know what job I want? I want the job of the guy who wrote the song for Dora the Explorer. Because he talks about how the guy didn't prepare at all, And then, hey, listen, Barry, we got a meeting right now in the office for that new song you got for the show about the map. Oh, yeah, the map. Right. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll be right there. And if you know Dora the Explorer, that song is "I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map." That's the best job ever.
Oh boy.
I want that job.
Yeah. Well, you never know. I mean, sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things.
But at the same time, there's a beauty in simplicity. Like like the best song for counting is 12 by the Pointer Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that song?
I think so. I feel like I might, but
it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
oh
10.
yeah. I was just singing that the other day. I didn't know it was the Pointer Sisters though.
Yeah. I've heard that one, the map. Yeah, that once you hear that song, it's stuck in your head for the day. On the map, on the map, on the map. And if you've got a kid or a grandkid that's watching that show and it's on, you're like, oh no! Somebody hum something. You're running through the streets. You whistle, just whistle a song.
Well, the thing that I hate is no matter what time of year it is, no matter what season, whatever, I always get Christmas songs stuck in my head. They just keep coming up, and it's just like, it's like the worst because I get sick of Christmas songs during Christmas time. So,
is that right?
I like a lot of them too, but geez.
My mother loved Christmas songs, and she would play them in our house, and I'd be like, woman, it's the start of November. What are you doing? Well, it's coming up. The snow's out. Isn't it Christmas Eve? No, it's November. My birthday hasn't happened yet. Put that away, So
Mm-hmm.
I would do this thing as a child because I was so well behaved. Dramatic pause. I would come up with my own lyrics.
Yes, that's always fun too.
My lyrics were terrible. Chestnuts roasting, that's what chestnuts do. That's not the words. Chestnuts, you know what they get up to. Get out of here. Yeah, so great. I was an annoying kid. Surprise.
Well, I mean, I constantly do that. I've like offended people by coming up with different words for songs because they're like, hey, I really like that song. And I'm like, I'm not actually making fun of it. I like the song, but I just can't help but make up words for songs.
There's certain songs that I still like sing to this day, like 3 is a magic number. I learned that watching a show in the 70s called Schoolhouse Rock. It was these little cartoon segments between animated, like our TV shows, Saturday morning shows. And so I remember learning 3 is a magic number. Oh, yes, it is. And I've heard so many different bands do so many versions of that since. It's like, I just love it. It's such a good song. A man and a woman had a little baby. It's a good song.
Nice.
I got Christy Moore's song "Black is the Color of My True Love's Hair" in my head for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. My granddaughter's doing musical comedy. They're going to do Matilda, and she's doing the principal. And I'm so excited because she gets to be the bad character. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic, Miriam. Jim says when they talk about great lyricists, they usually don't mention Johnny Cash. Very vastly underrated as a writer. Oh, he's an incredible writer. He really was. His ability to turn a phrase is just fantastic. Mm-hmm. His album Folsom Prison Blues is just it's one of those great albums that signifies a style of music,
Mm-hmm.
And Boy Named Sue is one of the funniest songs in the history of music. Do you know that song, Marsh?
No.
It's a song where he's talking about finding his dad and finding his father and shooting him because he named him Susan.
Oh my!
And when he finally gets caught up to his dad, and they get into a fight, and he kicked like a mule and he bit like a crocodile. Great lyrics, just such great lyrics. But he named him Sue, so he'd grow up tough.
There you go. Well, yeah, that makes sense actually, because he'd get beat up. What about? I'm surprised. Like, I could see picking. Like, if I were to pick a music person, a person to do the soundtrack for your life. Not, you know, consider that I only, we just kind of hardly know each other, sort of like, this is just based off the little I know from reading your comics and watching your videos once in a while.
Tiny Tim, isn't it? It's Tiny Tim.
But I mean, I would think like Frank Zappa, because he's got so much range, and again, he's goofy and he's got some really cool, interesting lyrics. I don't know if it's the right vibe, but he could do some fun stuff.
I definitely like Zappa.
Mm-hmm.
I really do enjoy Zappa. There's the Grand Wazoo is my favorite album, and one song, the lyrics in it are la 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 la. That's all the lyrics.
Nice.
That's the whole song. The rest of it's just free form. That, and he's got "Watch Out Where the Huskies Go, Don't You Drink That Yellow Snow."
Yeah, that's my favorite album. It's the only problem with the tough thing with Frank Zappa though is so much of his lyrics are about like sex and stuff. So kind of messes things up a little, but
there's lots of composers and lots of different performers that you're kind of like, man, I really, really like the vibe of this, but this is filthy. You'd sell more albums if you were cleaner. Yeah, usually you're shouting that about a top recording artist, right? Like Prince, his songs are nasty. He's got some nasty songs, Prince.
I heard, I don't know what it was. I don't even, maybe it was like something like, what's his name? I can't even think. But I don't know what show it was, or somebody was interviewing somebody and they said they were like one of Prince's girlfriends or something.
He had a lot of them.
And they were saying like, you'd be surprised that he's actually not that good in bed. I was like, really interesting.
He dated and wrote music for Pat Benatar. He dated and wrote music for Paula Abdul. He dated and wrote music for Sheila E. He dated and there's a lot of ladies that he was involved with. But he was a fantastic performer. Couldn't answer to his prowess as a lover. But
I mean, of course, it's supposed to be anyways, so. Depending on,
you'd be terrible.
Subjective, anyways. Depending on your audience, your partner, they may or may not like what you do, I guess. So,
I always liked Bowie. I think Bowie would be a fun soundtrack, but
oh yeah,
the problem with that is that it's so overdone. Like there's so many people that would, there's Bowie songs for things, and I don't know. There's a really funny character in a TV show called The Venture Brothers, and he's called the Sovereign. He's the head of the bad guys, and everybody knows a couple things about him. He is a shapeshifter, and he may or may not be the pop star Bowie. And at one point, he's talking to somebody on his communication thing, and it's got this giant Wizard of Oz head up floating above the table. Mm-hmm. No, we will not settle on such a matter. Have them destroy them, right? And then one of his henchmen, his two henchmen, walk in the room and they go, "Oh, whoa, sir!" And David Bowie, who is talking into a microphone, which makes this animated head work, he dives over the coffee table, and the two of them are covering up their eyes. And the one guy says, "Sir, may I just say, everybody knows that you're actually David Bowie." And then the other guy goes, "And sir, can I just say that your music has personally touched my life. Changes is possibly one of the greatest albums ever made." And David Bowie, the cartoon David Bowie, stands up and goes, "Really? You didn't find that was too little too late?" He goes, "No, sir, that would be Tin Machine," which was this band that he started with, the Sons of Soupy Sales.
Okay.
I just think it's funny that they put that in, like they fit that into a cartoon show, and David Bowie was fine with it.
I think David Bowie was the type of person where kind of he probably was pretty easygoing.
I think so. He had some really interesting things. I know that a lot of people have been really dialing into Rick Rubin's talk right now about creativity but a lot of those things that he's saying were said by David Bowie 25 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, he had some really fantastic stuff. Like, not the same things. Rubin's got a lot of unique things to say, but there's a lot of similarities in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bowie would say, it's art. If you're not enjoying it, if it's not something that's fun for you,
mm-hmm.
don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing it for other people, don't do it.
Right.
It's got to be for you. It's got to be saying something for you, from you.
I didn't make that connection, but you're right. Now that I think of it, the things I've heard from David Bowie do have some similar things to some of the things I've heard from Rick Rubin.
Empyrean says, "Don't insult Tin Machine." Oh no, by no means. I own that album. I love that album. Reeves Gabriel's is a phenomenon. He really is. Really is. That's across the board a great Bowie album, but it's not Bowie at all. He's in a rock band. It's so cool. Bowie and Mercury. Who would have thought Under Pressure would be so good? Oh yeah, that's another one of those surprise songs, right? What's up, bud? Yeah, Timmy in the well. We need to get a new Timmy. That's right. I talked to my cat. All right, here's where I am so far.
All right.
I got my first couple of panels together, I guess, and I think I'm going to extend this one over a little bit.
I got 4 panels basically thumbnailed. The first 4 panels.
Nice. I'm liking those. I like how in the third panel across, you've incorporated the elements from the paper. Where you accentuated those shapes. That's really, really great.
Thanks. Yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because, man, like I wonder, did you take like a scan or photo of like some of these base papers when you're doing like the kind of mixed media stuff first? Because some of that stuff is so good. Like the one you were drawing where I was chatting with you the other day, I was like, man, I really just like that paper, and then you were drawing over it. I'm like, oh, cool. It's cool. I was like incorporating it. And, but at the end result, it's kind of, you've pretty much lost the texture that was on the paper to some extent,
The only ones that I've scanned so far are the ones that are rolled out. I haven't scanned any of the ones that are actually jelly plated images.
Okay.
And it's largely because my full intent of whatever representational parts that are kept from the transfers are to be just swept up and incorporated into the images.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they're, I never thought to save those ones ever.
Mm-hmm.
That was always the abstract ones.
Right.
Which, I don't know, maybe that's counterintuitive.
It's just how you desire to do it. Nothing wrong with that. And honestly, there's so many things I ruin. And that's actually one thing that's really kind of cool is that I used to be so worried. This is a thing that is a big change in the way I work with music and art is, I used to be all about like, I don't know, like I grew up making hip hop music and I'm making like sample based music. And sometimes you're trying to get it so that like you can isolate the sound and get the singing out or different stuff like, and the same thing with comics. Like there was always this thing of like, trying to get like the best quality or whatever, where now I'm more like, take whatever happens and go with it. And even if it's destructive, like there's no such thing as like this whole idea of like wanting to draw and like like Kirby said, throw out your eraser type of thing. Like the thing is like for him it was more of an efficient thing. Like if you're not using an eraser, you're going to get, you know, a lot more done type of thing. But at the same time, as an artist, there's really no way to make a true mistake. Well, if you approach it that way, at least, like if you're more meticulous with your process, okay, I could see it. But like if you're like, I've gotten to the point where I don't want to be meticulous that way. And I want to be able to be like, oh crap, my bottle of ink spilled. All right, I guess that's part of the art now. Let's go forth and conquer, you know?
That's a nice way to go at it. Like Kirby would do something interesting where he would start in the left corner and he would go across the page.
Oh yeah, he was like a scanner or something.
Or he'd draw like a hand and like another hand here because he had to work out those elements in a panel, just two hands like this. And then he would draw the entire image and basically envelop that hand. And one of the interesting things I thought about that when I first read those facts was that, you know, here's a guy that makes some more sense to me. I never got Kirby as a kid at all. Like I looked at his work and went, it isn't as pretty as the John Burns and George Perez's and Paul Smith's and you know, a lot of Kurt Swan's and these lovely elegant lines and proportional forms. But then as I got older and I realized the dynamism of his work, it was like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now. As I you know, at the sophistication of it, as I see more and more storytelling through my life. But it's an absolutely genius storyteller. And one of the things that I really appreciate is the fact that he's not concerned about the pretty, let's erase it, make it perfect images. He's concerned about, I'm telling a story. My pure and simple approach to this whole thing is to get the story from my head into the viewers. And that changed things for me. Like that gave me a different headspace on how to approach the work. Because there's an authenticity to that you're not going to get in any kind of artificial contrived way. It's either works or it doesn't. And, you know, I like that. I respect that.
Yeah.
So I'm drawing the cosmic woodpecker. The cosmic woodpecker.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, mine has like some stuff that's on the nose and some stuff that's double meaning.
That's good. I mean, that's
pretty crazy
stuff.
how this develops, because yeah, I just started with one little thing and just kind of went to the next panel and to the next, and now it is starting to be like something.
I think the big trick to it has got to be being open and receptive to whatever you can, to being open and receptive to whatever ideas come along. And that's where you start to see it just become more natural and flowing through easily. So I'm missing some stuff here. Imperium has a good old smile. Yvonne says, that's great up close. Oh, that's cool. Thanks. And Imperium says, looking good. Hey, Cats, thank you very much. What do you think of the pictures?
Yes, thank you, sir.
I used myself in a serious way, and in the promotion, I'm using a serious picture of myself and promoting the new book, and it's so awkward to me because I generally, like the advert for today's stream, I generally post pictures of myself as a goon, and Not anymore. Now I got to be a grown up.
So I'm curious. You made 3 zines for this challenge.
I
Is
did
that
4.
correct? Oh, you did 4. Wow. So you're sending 40 zines to Janet?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I didn't know you could do multiple.
Well, I think Janet let me do more than one because she knows I'm a bit of a spaz. So,
Well,
Yvonne was laughing. Or Miriam was laughing at my joke. Which whites are you using on the black? Mine never looks so white. So, okay, I've got a couple of things. This is erasable. This is a Laurentian erasable pencil. Erasable. This is that's what this guy is here, and from the old Color Erase series that they used to do. And this is another one. This is a non-name brand, but the same thing. These are Color Erase ones, so you can do a really light line with those, and that's where you're seeing the structure of this here or here. And then we get into good old, nice, soft, creamy whites. This is where you get into your fancy pencils, and your good old proper Laurentian pencil. It's got a nice soft lead to it. In addition to that, and that's what this is as well. It's the same thing. I like to use pencils right down into the nub. And in addition to that, I've got, this is a Sharpie. It's an oil-based paint Sharpie. So it's not as opaque as you might think it would be. It has a real spreading quality to it, a real softness to the content that it puts down. So I can do these chunky hits, and it's more like flat brush strokes. And then this is a Posca, a little Uni Posca, a little small guy, PC-1M, and it's a fine point Posca. So those are the different whites that I'm using. The black is an Artist Loft, alcohol-based black, straight on black, number 10. It's my preppy pen. I haven't used them yet. And that's a standard old Papermate ballpoint that I did the outline around the moon with. So nice, crisp line, right? Miriam says, I was thinking the same, Yvonne, just tried a metallic white on black in my stream, and nope, not as noticeable as his. Okay, so I'm also using, I'm also using a really thick navy blue cardstock, right? And so it allows an awful lot of absorption of the white in one direction, but on another, it really allows that surface pigment buildup. So that tends to be helpful. And the other thing that I did was I took a toothbrush, not the one I do my teeth with, and this is Winsor & Newton calligraphy ink. And so I'll shake it up, and put the ink lid face up, put the toothbrush in it, and then flick it out with my finger. And that's where those stars come from. It's full of stars. And so it's a number of different things sort of on top of each other, if that helps anybody. Oh, yeah, and I also have the Posca Black, just like the Posca White. But the alcohol-based the alcohol-based black is where I went around the moon in a spiral pattern to get some fun directional lines of information. So hopefully when it's scanned and people see it up close, it's not just a flat black. Boy, that really shimmers in the picture there. Is that shimmering for anybody else, or am I just kooky?
No, it looks really cool. I see shimmering, but maybe that's just, it could be on StreamYard, but
maybe StreamYard just makes it shimmer.
Yes.
All right, so what I figured out is this guy is my narrator. Here's the moon, right? And he's pulling the book from a shelf, and what he's doing with said book is that he's going to tell you about the true story of the moon.
Nice.
So that's the narration of this, and he's going to tell you about, oh, you think it was asteroids? You're wrong, you know. Now that you say about the calligraphy ink, I remember I have acrylic ink white and also paint. Yeah, try the acrylic white ink before you get into any other kinds of paints, because there's a really nice liquidity to that, and it really allows for liquidity. It really allows for you to flick that, to spatter that in a really nice and controlled way. So it doesn't take a lot to do it. So see, my background is in artsy fartsy, right? I've always been a fan of comics, but comics wasn't my primary jam. I was doing portraits and large-scale paintings and drawings and showing them in galleries, and far more than I was doing comic stuff. It was always just something I did on a side. And like I said on your stream, Marsh, I'd done some illustrations for comics. I've been published before, but I never really made much of it. I kept a few copies around the house for myself of the different things that I'd done, but nothing more so than that. It wasn't until Lori found 3 finished books in a drawer that she said, "What are you doing? Get yourself organized here, Jack."
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So, you said you did like more fine art stuff. It's like paintings and stuff, or
like a painting of mine was in the House of Commons, which is our White House.
Okay. Oh wow.
Canada for one of our political leaders for a long time.
That's pretty cool. Where is it now? In a museum or?
No, it's back. It's they try to shake it up, right? Not just keep pieces in the offices forever. They like to shake it up and allow new opportunities for new artists to do pieces to be displayed.
Yeah.
But I did a portrait of Jack Layton and Tommy Douglas and a number of the New Democratic Party leaders.
Okay.
NDP. Even though that's not my party of choice. We have 3 political parties in Canada.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's called choice. No, I'm just joking. It's not really. It's that's great. Thanks. Now the hunt to purchase those items. They're not difficult to find. Michaels or Hobby Lobby should have the Artist Loft. The Posca should be there as well. Sharpie should be there as well. And just look for a hard lead white pencil and a soft lead white pencil. Are you going to tell us that the moon is made of cheese and the woodpecker made those holes? Oh, I didn't even think that the moon was made of cheese. The woodpeckers like cheese?
Well, intergalactic woodpecker cheese, of course.
Oh, I never thought about that. You guys are here with all the answers.
I mean, see, that's the problem when you're doing a comic. If it's not meant to be like something you do on one page in one day, then it's going to turn into something huge like that.
So, having done a number of full books and having done series, I can honestly say that there's great benefit to me to be doing the shorter work. And the reason for that is that it just allows me to get on and move on to the next one and to the next one and to the next one. And Janice could be mad I'm not using a ruler. I don't have any problem whatsoever with longer works. I've got a few sitting here in the house now, but there's an awful lot of challenge that I find presents itself by having to work from these one-page suggested ideas and prompts and these short story prompts. I like that challenge. I like it a lot. So, and then Miriam says, "Of course, Marsh, I don't know what that's because I just forget what I'm doing from one second to the next. I'm so sorry." Yeah, so I do like the challenge, but
I think it's of course it's intergalactic woodpecker cheese.
Oh, of course, yeah. So, what about you, Marsh? How many projects have you been working on over time, and what do you like to do? Are you wanting to do full books, or are you wanting to do?
Well, I started off loving comics and wanting to do comics, and then I got into hip hop, and that kind of took over for many years. And then internet happened more, and podcasts became a thing, and iPods and stuff. And because of that, I started hearing podcasts from comic book creators, and that got me to do my first mini comic. And ever since then, it's kind of been comics. I keep jumping back into music and into other things, but it's pretty much been comics. And so the work I've done has been all over the place. But I didn't make my first comic until I made that mini comic. And since then, I've kind of done a few other mini comics and like anthology stuff, and all mostly short stories. The longest thing I've ever done is Corncob Rob, which is a full length comic, but I never printed it yet as that. I don't know if I ever will, but and I'm going to probably collect all that I've done into an anthology so far. But then the next step is to finally, well, I don't know, because I'm so enamored by mini comics and zines. I might just keep making those a lot too, because they're just fun.
Yeah.
So like what you're saying, I definitely relate with this. Like, oh, just keep doing like these small stories. But I also do have a huge passion and huge desire to do some more longer form stories that really have a lot of heart to them, and usually they're based around some kind of adventure type of theme. So I really want to do both kind of short crafty projects and then longer form, more narrative stories.
Yeah. It's just sort of following that muse, following that moment. Yvonne says that they grew up on Iceland comics. I'm probably mispronouncing it. I do it terribly. And the Montreal Star. I'm not familiar with those. I'm going to have to check those out. In London, we had Tingley comics, the Tingley bits. And, we had a lot of that material here in the city. So I'm sure that you had a specific cartoonist where you grew up as well, Marsh. Like Saturday morning political cartoons or whatever in your local newspaper.
Yeah, to be honest, it was hard to like it was kind of harder to know about that stuff back then, and now looking back, I find out there actually is a lot of comic book history in Connecticut, because of course comics really kind of came from New York when it comes down to it. That was like where it really started to take its footing, in DC, and Marvel were out of there, and other companies at times. Obviously.
I think if you go back further, you'll realize it's Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is a lot. It comes from all over, but that was kind of the epicenter for a while, and so because of that, there
Nice.
are a lot of people. There are a lot of people who work in New York live in Connecticut.
Is that right?
Yeah, in the lower parts, because we're connected to New York City and Boston, really. So it's kind of funny, we're like right in between. But so there's actually a lot of cartoonists that kind of lived here, and then there's also I think a lot of there's like some of the female like colorists and stuff, I think, were based out of Connecticut as well.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. You get to find out things that you get surprised by, like even some famous people. I don't remember specifically who, but every once in a while I hear, oh, and they lived in Connecticut. I'm like, really? So
in your house? What?
in your closet.
What's your address? Yeah, that's the same that theirs was. Yeah. Hey,
that would be a fun premise for a little story.
It's going to happen somewhere, right? Yeah, there's a lot to be said for you know, finding out about the origin of things, the entomology of things. And I'm a big proponent of this, but there's a sort of like New York, Chicago, and New York cartoon sections of newspapers is really where the whole sequential boom in North America started. And then you'd have guys like Winsor McKay, and because he's working out of the Chicago Tribune and Hearst newspapers, and of course those became nationally syndicated. But at the same time, you've got alt cult in New York doing the Yellow Kid, and these are in the 1880s, 1890s that you saw a lot of those. But even before that, there were small cartoon picture books about Billy the Kid in his in the 1870s in the American Midwest.
Okay.
Right, Billy the Kid, wanted dead or alive, and here's Billy as a kid riding a horse, and then here's Billy as a buck, shooting it up at this place. And so kids would read these little periodical papers, and that would be their entertainment out in the prairies. I learned all about Billy the Kid. And so that's where you get these celebrations of things. So Iceland's real name is Terry Mosher. I have to look into this. This is fantastic. Political cartoonist. Miriam says, so interesting, but if she's sorry she has to go. Thanks for coming and hanging out, Miriam. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I got to watch your stream that you did earlier today. Thank you for coming and joining us, though. There's a lot of great stuff, done in those early days, like the Yellow Kid, which is, not acceptable by today's standards by any means, but there's it's about this young Asian immigrant represented in his yellow smock, but clearly with his Asiatic features, and how he's witnessing all of the things going on in New York in the day. And it's really done in one, maybe 2 or 3 panels at most. And open-ended panels too; they bleed together.
All right.
There's just so much crazy stuff. And then you got Ignatz and the mouse, the cat, and all those their hijinks. And
yeah, there was the early days of comics is so sometimes it's funny because you think the longer a certain art form goes, then people start deviating and kind of experimenting. But if you look at the early stages of comics, it's all that. They're still trying to figure out the language, and there's all kinds of weird things going on with panels and imagery that you never even see nowadays.
All of those how to draw comics books that have come out in the last so many years, I still highly value my Will Eisner ones. Because there's a guy who was drawing, he's the guy that did the first graphic novel of a story directly written and illustrated as a novel. He's been, the Spirit was created in the 1930s. Here's a guy at the beginning of really sequential form of comic books. And he is a do whatever I feel like in the moment guy. And it comes across. And if he's willing to experiment that intensely, it's need to see more of that. Why have we become so rigid in our structure since?
Yeah. Well, I guess
it's because it's corporate. That's why. That's the answer to it.
I think it's a pretty common evolution for an art for a certain form of art, because I feel like that's similar to animation. There was a lot of experimentation and things in the beginning, and then it developed, and they had to figure out the language. So a lot of it was kind of awkward trying to figure out the language, but at the same time, they lost maybe some of the freedom, that started with.
Well, it depends on what the project. The more that you've got more people involved in it, the more you have to homogenize the process so that you get it done.
Yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen, right? There's some really cool things that people are still trying today, though. Like Don Bluth Studios out of Toronto was pushing animation in a really, really, aggressive way, and then the Pixar guys came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought a whole bunch to the fold. And I don't know. I think that there's always going to be growth in everything. And I also know this Hoopy Cat out of Los Angeles there. He's doing some animated films that are just brilliant. And he gets better with every one.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say his name though, because I don't want to be a name dropper. Hey, did you know that Bill Plimpton just won a Lifetime Achievement Award?
Really?
Bill Plimpton, Jim did a film with him.
Yeah, I know that.
And Bill Plimpton's a guy that I have loved since the early 90s.
Yeah, the TV shorts.
Just some crazy, crazy work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny how in the industry will rest on ideas sometimes, and then other times have these explosive periods of growth and trying different things. I really think that the marketplace is changing dramatically right now.
Yeah.
And that we're going to see huge changes in the democratization of sequential media, because the interweb changes the game.
Yeah.
And especially when you've got AI, as much as all of us, don't worry, we're not going to use AI. Those guys are going to use AI. Because at the end of the day, it's about money.
Well, I think AI is already being used. I know for a fact in web design, it's already, professionals are saying if you're not using AI, you're going to be lost. And, but, I think as long as we're using AI and it's not using us kind of thing, like there is some value to it. But you can't have it be, and this is my opinion, it's kind of a divisive topic, I guess, but like you can't have it be the be all and end all of your creativity. If you're doing that, then you should know that that's wrong. Like
there's a funny thing I saw somebody post about how, don't worry, AI art is based on people being able to program, like being able to describe what it is that they actually want for an image, for it to work. So don't worry, all you artists, we're safe. And that's such an insider art joke, because it's clearly acknowledging the fact that generally a lot of the times the customers don't know what they want.
Yeah, that's true.
Can you describe it? Okay, so it's a thing, and blue. It's blue. Mm-hmm. You want me to draw blue? Yeah. Yeah, but not that blue. That's a different blue. Get out of here. It's a thing. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. If you have so here's the double-edged sword. Okay, if you have an authentic voice in what you do, then for somebody to take what you do and to program it into this program, like these diddly-do machines, and for it to replicate you should be more challenging because of your authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, bearing in mind that if you're just doing the same kind, like unfortunately, a lot of the motion picture, there's a formulaic thing that's really started happening in the guys that are drawing these digital paintings of backgrounds and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sort of formulaic approach that is accepted in the industry of how they're doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that's the thing that the AI locked in on. So those guys I can see them going, oh my God, because that's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yvonne says, no AI can draw and create like us. No, that's a guarantee. You're never going to find the mistakes that we make in AI. That to me is the major difference. AI can't make mistakes like we do. And it's those mistakes and what we do with those that really make what we do. That really differentiate it from the guy next door. And the guy next door is because, oh, well, we've learned to do things this way, largely because of a mistake we might have made at this point in time. And yet we found that worked, and we've been following that news. And AI is not going to do that. It's going to do formulaic things. And even if you sit down and program it to do, Corbin, I'm busy, to do 60 things, it's only going to do those 60 things based on the algorithm of what it presumes is the path it's to take. And so that's the stage it's at right now. And in that regard, most AI images that you're seeing look relatively the same.
Mm.
So we're okay for 5 minutes.
Well, I think overall, like, the thing is to me is the thing that why we don't have to be, I don't know if we have to be worried so much about technology or not, but like sometimes I feel like we don't, because it's like, even with this stuff with like algorithms on YouTube and all these other platforms and stuff, like people always complain about it. I don't complain about it because I don't think it's as much of a issue as we think. But that being said, it's like the reason why humans create the algorithm to do certain things is because they're trying to track human activity, and they're trying to cause it to help out their what they want their platform to do.
Money.
And a lot of times it's tracking human stuff, but the thing is we're human, so we can change the course of whatever, like, because we're not that we're predictable, but we're not that predictable. So I don't know, I just feel like, I think that people are going to always end up defying, in their taste, even end up defying the algorithm, and the way we operate is going to keep changing, because we'll want stuff that's less algorithm based. You get people that start creating for the algorithm, and everybody starts to hate that, so they'll go to something different, and then they're going to have to change the algorithm again. And it's similar with AI. Like, people will more crave the person that they can see in a video sitting in the chair actually coming up with doing what we're doing. They might crave seeing something like that more than a beautiful piece, because at least they can see the evidence of somebody doing the thing.
Yeah.
And so I think in a lot of ways, like, people are attracted to other people. They're not going to, there's always going to be this aversion to that synthetic, type of product that would come from a computer or algorithm or an AI or something like that.
See, I think that there's a sort of a halfway point. I'll get to it in a second. Yvonne says that I seem to remember history proves that computers took over the assembly lines and eliminating many jobs. And yeah, that's completely true.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the terrible thing that people they say, but they don't say. Okay. A lot of times, the simplifying machines eliminate the relatively simplistic tasks. And as terrible as it sounds, bear with me for a second. I'm going to make myself sound even worse. So when you've got jobs where you're doing a repetitive action, well, you can make a machine to do repetitive action. And it doesn't account for the human interest, and it doesn't account for, well, yeah, but I can see that. Oh, no. See, these are all coming out blue, but they should be yellow. Stop the machine. And the machine will just keep doing the repetitive action and produce 20,000 units of the wrong color, unless it has a special program in it to not produce the wrong color. So we're always going to have those situations where that happens. And so I think a lot of these guys that are drawing these very similar brush approach, backdrop images and movie designs for everybody painting the same way in a computer graphics sort of a thing. Those people are the first ones to really feel the harsh swing, because there is a commonality in that approach to working that is shared across a massively broad number of people. And I'm not disparaging the work, and I'm not disparaging the people and their approach. It works, and it's as popular as it is because it's popular. But people like it. But machines zone in on that. So the AI programs can do these paintings that look like it's done by the guys that are putting together the graphics for the backdrops in Star Wars. And they can do them fast. And that's the first immediate challenge, is for people that are in those processes, because they're authentically painting and doing their work, and they're doing it from a craftsman's hands, of somebody that's learned and educated to have that sufficient skill. But that, because there's an expected approach in a certain field or a certain genre, then that's easier for the robot to focus on to attack. Mm-hmm. And I'm not disparaging the work, and I'm not disparaging the people that have aimed their careers towards it, because I don't want to see them replaced. But the reason that the machine's aiming at it is because the commodity, the style, is what's actually being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And that expectation of the style from the industry is pigeonholed itself enough that the machine has something to focus on to attack. And that's, because when you see some of these designs, and that somebody's doing something very differently from the other people that they're working in the design offices with to create this new product, those people are harder to lock down, because they're doing something very different. They're still managed to maintain enough of their uniqueness in their process.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying that other people aren't unique; they are, but that process is still in lockstep with the expectation of the studio and the perception of the studio. This is what we want from our creators for the project. It's a challenging thing. It really is. But
in some ways, it might actually be good for some certain kind of artists that, where they're less formulaic, and they're less about the process, and they're less about getting the perfect line. Maybe. I don't know. I wonder.
It could well be. And, like if AI is to do, somebody is to program AI with this algorithm with my work, and to see what would AI produce that's going to come out of me, it's still not me. It's still not me making it. It's still not, there's going to be things in there that, oh, that's really cool. I don't think I'd be able to do that, or there's going to be ways that the AI has expressed stuff that, I don't know if I'd be that proficient as this program is. My goodness, the program's showing me up, but, who knows my style better than I do. But it still doesn't have the randomness of chance or the randomness of the suggestions that I get from folks, and try to do what I can from them. If I was to draw the same prompt, this is an idea I've thought about recently. Is there anything, if I was to take a 3-word prompt and draw a page with it, of one that I've already done, would I do it differently? Like if this page that you're doing now, Marsh,
yeah,
if you were to do it if you were to do the same drawing again, would it be relatively the same?
There would definitely be similarities, but there might be improvements, and it would be another iteration. It wouldn't be 100% the same. No.
You wouldn't do the same story?
Probably not. I'd
There you go.
probably modify it.
So it's hard to lock that down. It's hard to take a person's style. Like they've already programmed it with McKeon's work and Mignola's work, and those guys are pissed, and I would be too. But the uniqueness of their voice is something, and the proficiency, or the prodigiousness of their work, at least. There's enough examples to lock in on. But ethics. That's when ethics come into play.
Well, yeah, that's important too.
That's one of the things. One of the reasons the Hollywood people are striking, is that they want to take B movie actors and do turnarounds of these people's face and pay them a one-time fee, and then have their likeness signed over for them to use as many times as they want from this AI model.
Uh-huh.
Well, that sounds great, except for you're killing these movie stars' acting career, because before they've even started, you've taken their likeness and turned it into commodity.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
Yeah. I could imagine.
You don't blame them, right? Yeah.
No.
It's all about me. It's tricky. It's all tricky, the AI stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do one second to the next. I don't know how a robot would want to waste its time trying to figure out that. Yeah, that's what I want. I want an AI robot when somebody says, "Hey, draw in Christopher Runciman's style," and the robot goes, "Waste of time. Why don't you get me someone more interesting?" There you go. Hey, do a piece like this of Christopher Runciman. And the machine says, "If I have to." Ugh. and the story will be called "Even Art is Subjective to Robots." Or "Art is Subjective Even to Robots." That would be better.
Have you done an AI themed comic yet? Imagine you probably have by now.
Let me think. I don't think so.
Oh, we're gonna have to make that happen.
Have you started to think up your one-page suggestion there?
I think that's my suggestion, but maybe does it have to be 3 prompts? I can come up with more.
No. The 3 prompt thing is only one part of it. Other people, like Jim Lewin, literally gave me the suggestion of doing a horse playing guitar, riding a bicycle on the edge of a 4th-dimensional parallax.
Yes, he's trying to stop.
It's a black hole. So, so I did it, but I framed it in the context of these 2 maybe recreational abusers, surfer guys, that have come up with this awesome movie idea, dude, and they're describing it while they're probably still lit. And then the second, so that's the first third of it, is them breaking this down. The centerpiece of it is, of course, a horse playing guitar, riding a bicycle on the edge of a black hole. And then the last third of the page is me interjecting and saying, "Okay, look, whatever great ideas that you think you're having during your recreation time with your friends." And then the last panel is, "It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make sense to anybody else."
Yes, that's true.
Yvonne says, "It's sad that we grow as artists over years of life experience to become who we are." It is and it isn't, don't you think? It's, I mean, you're a creative type because you're a creative type. You didn't have any choice in that matter. It's part of how you understand the world and then interact with it and others in it. But developing more sophistication in the things that you do over time is I think that's the most beautiful part. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but it's not so sad that we grow over time. I think it's more sad when people don't. You know, it will discourage the natural artist to make a career. There'll be hobbies using other creative individuals. Now, natural creatives have got to do it. They will do it, or they go squirrely and take everyone around them with them.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you can handle a pencil, cat, get out of the way.
Well, one thing too that's interesting, I think, is that the purpose of art isn't only a commercial purpose. So, the purpose of art is also like a mental health purpose. It's a
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a lot. There's a lot more to it. Just to make art in and of itself is its own reward, really.
One of my favorite statements on commodity, the commoditization of artwork, and how there's these bidding, Sotheby's, whatever other places where these people put this values on antiquity and values on what is popular art and price it out of the availability to the average person. And that, touching on NFTs and all that. Banksy did a piece on paper and had it sold in a frame at auction at Sotheby's. And do you remember this?
Yeah, I know about this one.
And as soon as it had sold for over $1 million, somebody clicked a switch in that auction room, and immediately the piece started lowering into the paper shredder that was built into the frame and got halfway through the piece. Now that's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure that piece halfway in the machine is still worth whatever $1 million. It's probably worth more now.
But the video of that and watching the absolute
the horror
and panic and horror on those people, that I danced like I was on a cloud for a week, I think, after I saw that. Jim says, Chris's ideas always have many layers to them, like an onion skin. Maybe I should do a comic about onions. Thanks, Jim.
There you go. How about that? That could be my suggestion.
What's that?
AI and onions.
Okay, I'll write it down. Put it on one of the slips, Marsh.
Yep, sounds
good. What's your last name? Marshall what?
Couture, Couture.
Coutur. So you say, how do you say it?
Couture.
See, because I know a friend here in Canada, right? And they say couture. They say couture, and they do that rounded U, couture.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. I mean, I'm French Canadian, so
they're in Quebec City. So, all right. So what is it? The AI
and onion skins. How about that? We'll go with that because I like that idea.
Onion skins. What's your email, buddy?
MarshMakesArt@gmail.com.
All right. And that's a nice short one. I like those. Good ones. How about a disabled superhero with an atomic super chair and a superhero team called the Particle Man? Particle Man, doing the things that Particle can. Anyways, all have powers and abilities based on particles of matter: tachyons, electrons, neutrons, quantum, positron, atom, quark, molecule, etc. It's a pretty small list. Anyone? Anybody? No? It's a particular list, that's for sure. Anyone? I'm ashamed of myself sometimes. Skins don't peel like the inside of the onion. There you go. That's a great expression. Yvonne, if you've got suggestions, let me have them. Spit them at me. Hit me. Don't hit me. I'm sensitive. I'm very sensitive.
I I think I'm focusing kind of on two different of the prompts, but
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna let the fourth one be like not even in there. But it is in there though at the same time because the last panel is like a really silly, stupid reveal. And if you get it, maybe it'll make you chuckle.
So when you're working on your piece, because you're upside down right now, aren't you? Or are you right side up?
Yes, depending on which part of the comic you're reading. Because
Nice.
it's a zine, so it's like this
To be
one that I
fair,
just made, so it's both sides.
excellent, excellent, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that your zine through hopefully, I'll get one in the zine swap. Um, there's there's something exciting about that, about having something like a blank spot, a breath, a moment,
Hmm.
right? In a piece, in a story, in a narrative. All
Yeah.
right, so I got him picking the book off the shelf. I just gotta put a little contrast into that. His hand's pretty whited out, and then you can see the structure of the celestial woodpecker.
Oh, nice.
So it's
That's
come together.
that's looking really good. I like it.
Thanks, man.
And you decided to go start with black this today. That was what made you decide on that?
But well, it's a blue. It's a dark blue. It's a navy blue.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
still.
I said because navy blue is going to resonate some intermediate values better than just a black. Black's going to do those grays, and they tend to be muted out compared to a luminescence you get out of blue.
Hmm.
So, like in the moon, it really pulls out.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to see because it friscolates in the video. But Jim says this is the best episode yet. Kudos. And
Wow.
and Miss Yvonne said, I have an idea about watching Dee Dee too much. That's a that's a lot of fun. Do you feel like you watch Dee Dee too much? Can one do that? One page idea, Godzilla and therapy. Should I be writing these down?
Ooh, I want to see that one. Godzilla in therapy. That sounds great. Uh,
All right, I'm going to put these ones in the book immediately.
maybe I should
Godzilla.
maybe I should start taking suggestions because some of these things are pretty.
Well, like I always say, Marsh, if there's ideas that you see me exploring on any of my posts, people are welcome to do those as well.
Oh, okay, cool. That's a way to go. I like that.
And then I've got watching Dee Dee too much from Yvonne.
Well, I mean, I think it is possible just because Dee Dee has, most weeks 8 hours worth of content. So that's a lot.
There we go. I put both those down, you guys. Jim writes, one page idea, Godzilla in history. With James Brown.
A therapy set. So James Brown is like the psychologist or whatever, the
No,
therapist.
I saw a joke one time years ago, and it was the shortest therapy in history. And it's got a therapist with the pen at the end of the bench, sitting in a chair saying, and it says, "How do you feel?" underneath, and it's
Uh-huh.
got James Brown's like jumped up to his feet, like he's up on his feet in front of the reclining bench, and it says, "I feel good." Shortest therapy session in history. How do you feel? I feel good. Dun, 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 dun. You just imagine him soft shoeing out the room, eh? Doing his little
Oh man,
stride.
that's great.
I often do this thing where I claim that my godfather told me this, and then I say James Brown lyrics.
Hmm.
So many times I'll say, "Listen, my godfather told me you got to get up to get down," and people will be like, "That's James Brown, man."
Nice.
Is that a blue pad or is it homemade? It's just a blue piece of cardstock, and there's another blue piece of cardstock, and there's that's their cousin, and then there's a white one and a gray one, and a gray one. There's a red one. That's a black one. That's a craft paper. I just collect all these different kinds of cardstock, and then here's where we get into some of the jelly plated pages that I've done. And this is when you roll out your brayer. I saved those, and those are on cardstock. See, you get these beautiful textures that you just want to rub your hand over for a while and have people look at you awkwardly. And you just get these fantastic workable surfaces to do pieces on top. And so some of these lines, these serrations in the page and things like that, is where you see Marsh is incorporating a lot of those elements right into his composition. And that's cool. That's fun. It just gives you a nuance, a nudge towards something that you might not have considered otherwise.
Yeah.
Doing one page of Shakespeare's Hamlet. I just adopt Hamlet? Okay. Shakespeare.
That was one thing you were talking about in the when I was talking to you on Tuesday that I wanted to jump on but never did was you were talking about like kind of some different kind of approaches that you've done with comics. Like they're not all goofy, some of them are more like thoughtful or whatever, like the different things.
Yeah.
And at some point you said something about observational things, and it just immediately made me think of observational drawing, which again, it's just the joy of drawing to a certain extent, or just practice or whatever. But like observational drawing can be very meditative and stuff. And I thought, wow, that's interesting to think of that in the context of comics and story and stuff like that, and sequentials. So I guess some of these could just be like an observation of something.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Like the reason that I call it sequential media, the reason I call it sequential art, sequential writing, right? Sequential illustration, all these variations on a form. The reason that I do that is that I think that at this point in time in history, we are now limiting ourselves with our assessments of cartoons and comics. And I think it's starting to become more prevalent. And society has these assumptions of certain things in certain ways. Cartoons are for kids, right? Comics are for kids and young adults. And then you grow up and get a girlfriend, bud. You know, these assumptions, these associations. And Will Eisner, to go back to Will, who created The Spirit in '38, and who you know, one of the guys who's in one of the grandfathers of the form. I mean, Eisner called it, you know, sequential art, sequential illustration, sequential writing. And the reason that he did that is because he wanted it to transcend this expectation of, you know, that it's only for children. And so when you had all these fantastic children's illustration book artists that are going back into, you know, the 1700s, or 1800s, with whenever the heck the press was first invented is when you started seeing these things appear, where you'd have these rudimentary and then eventually more and more sophisticated drawings. But they were largely aimed at, you know, parts of society that would find it more accessible to read the picture than it would be to read the words, or you'd find it more aimed at humoring the kids or making a humorous anecdote with a visual image. And as we get on and on and on and into telling stories, there's these tracks that we get on. And I think there's so much more for us to explore still. And so writing anecdotal pages or writing observational pages or putting, you know, doing editorial work about the idea of, you know, power fantasies as exhibited through Batman comics. It's not that I'm just picking on Batman comics. I just cite that example and visualize that example with this. Hold on, I'll show you the image. It's this one, right? It's called cause and effect. It doesn't matter what caused you to do it. Dressing up in a costume to go out and fight people is not healthy. It encourages others to act similarly. Madness and violence inspires the same. power fantasies are not empowering for its readers. This is escapism folly. That's my assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then being the contradictory person that I am, I then put Grandma on the panel and says, if you kids can't get along, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to,
Nice.
Oh, Grandma. She just missed the point. But it's, you can't threaten people to behave with abuse. So, it's exploring ideas and examining them in different ways than me just drawing a punch-up book with people, having these insightful, deep thoughts while they're in the middle of swinging across buildings and kicking people through the moon. It's really, there's so many other directions that we can play with the form. I mean, the fact that manga produces entire volumes and series of books based on ping pong or on baking competitions is absolutely genius to me.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. How do you make the mundane exciting?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I love ideas like that to explore.
For sure.
You mean I can't catch criminals in my hot dog costume? Well, you can't drive around with a tiger in your car, but you can be happy you mind too. There's a Roger Miller song you need to listen to, P. It's called You Can't Roller Skate, or what is it? You can't. What is it? You can't. I gotta look it up now, man. Roger Miller, if you don't know, is the guy who played Alan Adale in Disney's Robin Hood. And he's the guy with the little guitar, the rooster with the guitar that's walking around and narrating the whole movie. But he was also a 60s musician that, man, he was just funny. He was one of those guys, and all of his songs are ridiculous. But he also wrote King of the Road.
Nice.
Yeah. So he did a performance on Ed Sullivan in 1966, I think it is. And his guitar accompanist had a Batman shirt on.
All right.
Talk about being ahead of the curve. But he has this hilarious song that is the one that I was referencing, and it's I remember it from when I was a kid, and it's never left my head. It's one of those things that lives rent free at the back of my skull. And I want some rent payments. You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd. Yeah, it's a brilliant song.
Yeah.
What is y'all's opinion on American making Japanese style manga comics? Do you think Americans have a chance of putting out content people will want to read, or should we just be ourselves and make Western style? I think that if you want to work in Eastern style influenced books, then you should well do so. There are an amazing amount of creators like Alphonse Alonso and people like that have started in that foundation that have gone on to create absolutely elegant Western style material. And I think that you should do that. And if you do that, put it out there. But if you're trying to draw exactly like some of your anime influences, you're going to realize that you might feel stifled and that it might not resonate the same, because it's also about geocentricity. It's also about cultural centricity as well. Like some of those things that are in those manga books, there are cultural references, and like in the Dragon Ball alone, right? A little teardrop of sweat on somebody's forehead in Asiatic cultures, that's a signifier for sex. For here, we think he's sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's actually a subversive way of saying that this is a sexually alluded to subject. So, like, there's things that we're never going to get here. So, But if you want to do your own thing, whatever you're doing, do your own thing. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with you having the influences of whatever they are. Use your influences, but don't copy them. Find your own way of saying them.
I kind of think that that Japanese artists should stop trying to draw like Japanese style artists sometimes, to be honest,
Well,
because
there's people that progress outside the form there too.
oh, they absolutely do, but there is kind of like there is like kind of a formula there that sometimes it gets a little bit boring, to be honest.
Well,
And I usually do like some of these manga or anime that divert from that,
well, it's the same thing I say to Western comics, right? The homogenization, the mass popular appeal, the everybody does it this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have that in every culture.
Yeah.
But then those same cultures produce Satoshi Kon. You know, they produce Taiyo Matsumoto. They produce Akira Kurosawa. Like they produce all these Keigo. They produce who did Akira? Otomo. That was Otomo. Like they produce all of these fantastic voices that leap away from everybody else.
Yeah.
But no matter what, you're always going to have everybody drawing Spider-Man the same.
Yeah.
Everybody everybody drawing that thing the same. In every culture.
It's just like us with people who kind of drew like Jim Lee for a long time, or Neil Adams or whoever it was at the time.
Well, those guys were definitely caught by their influences, that's for sure. Bill Sienkiewicz started as a Neil Adams clone.
Yeah.
It's because he thought, if I just break down everything that Neil Adams does and study that over and over again, I'll be able to just go and work in comics. And then he went to present his portfolio, and somebody said, "You're drawing like Neil Adams."
Yeah.
And loosen up, do your own thing. And then suddenly we have Bill Sienkiewicz. And thank goodness for the editor that said that to him. P says, "That's awesome. Do you think mixing it with Western style, like reading left to right, or keeping our culture just using the art style?" Again, do your own thing. But this is a rule of thumb. If you want to put your stuff out into the marketplace in a specific culture that you're in, put it towards that culture that's going to be able to purchase it from you. So if you're in the Western world and you're producing comics that you're going to be hitting the Western market with, the Western market reads left to right. If you're doing it internationally, I don't know, roll the dice. But if you're not being distributed in Asia, stop doing an Asian right to left book, because those people aren't going to make any sense of that here. Imperium says, "Great stream. Thanks, man." Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it up in a couple seconds.
For sure.
Yvonne says, "It's a cultural thing that's hard to share when one has not traveled to those areas and not as a tourist. Living there is a life-changing thing." That's exactly right. And there's all those nuances, and there's all those subtleties, and then there's all those and layered aspects that you are never going to understand. You want to see something interesting? Look at some of the books produced in Scandinavia, in Norwegian countries, and things like that. Look at some of their work. Look at what they do for illustrations and animations. It is a right turn. There's so much stuff that comes out of there that you're like, "What? No, this is crazy weird." I love it.
Yeah.
P says, "I'm asking because, from my experience, not with comics, but with music and other forms of creativity, a lot of people like to fit you into a box. If you go outside the norm of what expected, they can reject it. Those people are small, and don't worry about them. You're making art for you." I do realize music's different than comics. Nope, it's art. It's all the same. Whatever you're making, make it for you. Listen to David Bowie and Rick Rubin and all these other people that say, if you're making it for you, it sounds like it's for, it has authenticity, it has originality, it has something that comes from inside that people want to check out. If you're doing a commodity that everybody wants, you aren't going to make a mark. You aren't going to resonate in any larger way because you're just doing the same thing that everybody wants. It's a sad truth, but it's a reality, right? You got to have some recognizable you in whatever you're working on for it to count. That's why I do self-portraits in every page I do. That'd be a scary book. These are all good questions and stuff. These are all good. I really like the idea of looking at it and trying to peel it back. Whatever you want to do it. But think about what the greater context of it is outside of you and your closed circle. How is it going to resonate if you give it to your grandma?
Yeah.
All right. It's too racy for grandma. So how about you give it to your pal that, I'm not into this comics thing, man, but I'll check yours out. Oh, this is wicked, but everything seems backwards, then do the book the other way around.
There you go.
I guess it's because I'm from the hip hop world, to be honest, and many people are brainwashed and closed-minded in that genre. I guess it's different with many other art forms. Hip hop's tough, man. I think that there's a massive homogenization of the market, but if you've got guys coming out like Lamar, right? Kendrick Lamar, Anderson .Paak, man, Anderson .Paak, what he's bringing to hip hop and soul is incredible. Check out the Diggable Planets. That's 20 years old, 25 years old, man.
Mm-hmm.
But that's hip hop rooted in jazz. I mean, there's so much stuff out there that you don't hear on the radio. And there's a reason you don't hear it on the radio. It's because it's not accessible for the common mass. There's just something a little more to it. Why don't you hear all of Radiohead's hits on the radio? Because they're too complicated. You hear the ones that hit the mass market, but the rest of it, it's like, this is some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say that these are transcendent experiences or transcendent creative materials. It's just, I draw a picture of a guy wearing his leotard, and his underpants on the outside, flying up in space and punching a big robot. Then there's going to be a lot of people like I associate and recognize big robot getting punched by a guy in his underwear. I know what that is. But do I feel fulfilled drawing it? Well, I don't know. No, but that's just me, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to engage in that and pursue that, do it. But do it like you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that dude, Michel Fife or whatever, like he's doing the superhero stuff, but he's doing it his own way, Yeah,
it's all right. I mean, it's a unique voice.
Yeah.
But it's hey, check out Peter Bagley, the guy who did Hate Comics out of Seattle. Really grunge area punk rock comics. Hate.
Mm-hmm.
Buddy Bradley. Well, Peter Bagley did a Spider-Man book. It's called The Megalomaniacal Spider-Man, and it's rooted in Rindyism. Ayn Rand, objectivism.
No, but
Ayn Rand is a person in the 20th century, and her idea was that once you're convicted of a crime and you've served jail time, you're not an ex-convict. You're a convict. You were convicted. It's black and white thinking. It's absolute thinking. There's no middle area. A thing is or a thing isn't. Steve Ditko, the creator of Spider-Man, is an objectivist. He also created The Question. And The Question, as a character, is an objectivist. Black or white, there's no in between. He lives in the gray area and decides and discerns which way a thing goes. But you can have absolutes or not, right? But that's what objectivism is. Peter Bagley did The Megalomaniacal Spider-Man, and like his creator Steve Ditko, he makes Peter Parker an objectivist. Why am I dressed up in this garish costume? Am I making a fool of myself? Should I really be rescuing people, or should it be upon them not to get into danger? And he just walks around the whole time debating all this crap in his head rather than fighting. It's awesome. It's crazy, and it's the weirdest version of Spider-Man you will ever see in your life. On SoundCloud, foreigners are more open-minded to new kinds of music. I think it just, the larger the audience it is, the larger the you're going to find more people that dial into your thing. I live in Memphis. No one's accepted what I was doing, but people from other places, like in Europe and Russia, loved it. Well, then, man, do your online thing.
Yeah.
I guess you have to identify your niche audience. Well, eventually it finds you.
That's true.
Yeah. This has been good. I got to wrap up and bounce.
Yeah.
This is a long one for me.
Yeah.
So listen, this has been awesome, Marsh.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me on. This was great.
Your page is kicking it, man.
Thanks. Yeah. Having fun with it.
That's perfect. That's it. That's absolutely perfect. That's the way it should roll. I really like how you're doing that. I really like how you're using the surface underneath. I really enjoy working this process and in a similar way, and it's kind of nice, man. It's
Yeah,
kind of nice.
I'm digging yours too, and I'm gonna try my best to get this done today.
Well, there you go, bro. Yeah, so I'm not going to be doing a stream tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm not going to be doing my normal 2:00. It's tomorrow. I will be doing a video at the con as we're setting up a con and do some video of that and show people some of that process. So that might be some fun. I'll put that here on YouTube, and then I'll be posting this page from today, tomorrow on Instagram and Facebook and all that jazz. But now over the course of the weekend, I'm going to do some posting like that, and I'm going to interview my buddy Richard. Richard Comley is the creator of Captain Canuck.
All right.
Which is the first big Canadian superhero here. So I'll be doing an interview with him this weekend, but on Saturday. So
nice.
Yeah, so I'll be around, but I won't be doing a stream tomorrow for anybody that tunes in on the regular. But in the meantime, I'm going to bounce. And thanks very much, Marsh, for coming out. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And check out Marsh's Instagram, Facebook, or whatever you're going to post it on, Marsh. Are those two?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so check out Marsh's Instagram and Facebook tomorrow and see his page. He's gonna do it, man. Awesome. Yep. And anybody else that takes these 3 prompts and wants to do something with it, do so. Or any of the other ideas that you see on my stream here, you're all fully welcome to try some of these one-page suggestions and give it a roll, man. So it's a beautiful thing because it's never the same as the next guy. So, all right. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day. Marsh, you want to say anything before we roll?
No, this was great. Thank you again, and I'll be seeing everybody.
Right on. Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.